International observers see no fraud in historic U.S. vote.
Here's a summary of the article.
International observers from the Organization of American States have said in a preliminary report that they saw no instances of fraud or voting irregularities in the U.S. presidential election. The delegation included 28 experts and observers from 13 countries who studied the election process in Georgia, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan and the District of Columbia. The OAS said Election Day was peaceful, although there were efforts to intimidate poll workers as the votes were counted, and that the country's mail-in ballots were a secure system. The report notes that due to COVID-19, mail-in votes and early votes combined accounted for over 100 million ballots ahead of Election Day. The report says the OAS supports the right of all contesting parties in an election to seek redress before the competent legal authorities when they believe they have been wronged. It is critical, however, that candidates act responsibly by presenting and arguing legitimate claims before the courts, not unsubstantiated or harmful speculation in the public media, the OAS says. A detailed report which will expand on the OAS's initial findings will be presented in Washington, D.C. The report concluded by saying that the 2020 elections have been historic in many ways, stating that while the environment of the elections was competitive and fraught, the ability of voters across the country to access the vote in less than ideal circumstances exemplifies the democracy for which the United States is renowned and which it has championed across the globe.
This post received a score of 31,000, with an upvote ratio of 87%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
The guy from Erie, Pennsylvania who claimed he witnessed Dems committing fraud just recanted his entire story and said he lied.
Weird how so many of them do that when they get called to testify in a court of law.
It's almost like they will get tossed into prison for perjury and aren't wealthy enough to fight it.
It's a perjury trap.
You have to tell me if you're cop, you know.
Badger gets arrested.
Love that cold open.
For Trump's team to prove a rigged election they need to, 1. Link these discrepancies with each other as a coordinated effort. Prove this effort had a meaningful impact on the election. This coordinated effort actually circumvented or broke existing election laws.
Since they just accidentally booked a press conference at a garden center, I think they're going to do a fantastic job presenting this evidence to the court.
Landscaping company. A garden center would have looked way better.
It was all about the gas station hot dogs. That was no accident.
I completely understand the doubts that some people had about the massive amounts of mail-ins and the potential for fraud, as most forms of voter fraud appear with absentee ballots. The issue is that in all instances of absentee ballot fraud there have never been amounts of voter fraud that have been substantial enough to present a material influence. Coming from a background of internal control and assurances, I was skeptical that this would work as well as absentee ballots had in the past. I had expected that due to mail-in ballots being the most likely to contribute to vote fraud that there would be more targeted attempts due to the sheer amount of mail-in voters. I did not allow this skepticism to blind my understanding of the mail-in process and materiality. I just wanted to ensure that there were processes in place to provide a large amount of confidence in the results received, and it looks like we got that.
Glad you commented. Interesting perspective.
Republicans are now running disinformation campaigns against their own people and refusing to accept election results. They even use their government powers to do so. I have never been more confident that the U.S. is just a raft headed toward a waterfall at this point. Biden's election just delayed the inevitable. But you can't have a well-functioning democracy when one of two major political parties doesn't want that democracy to exist.
Shame all of the people loudly shouting Trump is at the head of a bastardized American fascist movement just get dismissed as alarmist.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.